One to place. Gotta learn to beat the system.
You know this world has gone insane. It is absolutely no secret. But tonight, Saturday night, you are about to experience the true measures of what that insanity can bring you. Tonight, you are about to see Bald and Bonkers, the one-of-a-kind show that delves deep into the world with no holds barred. Now, meet your hosts, Dakota Franson, specialist of the strange, and Christopher Mule, the UFO fanatic. Now, give it up, and let's see what these two idiots can bring you.
Hey, what the fuck, Mike?
Surprise.
Oh my god. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we have brought you a surprise tonight. Mike is coming for you all. So how is everybody tonight in the podcast world? I hope you're listening. I hope you're having a great weekend. Who we all got in the chat there? Paranormal World Investigators, Bald and Bonkers. I wonder who the Bald and Bonkers is.
PWI.
We got our good friend and Parapost Network watching us. And ladies and gentlemen, we have also expanded to so many different new locations on the podcast world. And we also have the Bald and Bonkers TV network as well.
Yeah. And we have some big news actually about that. And last week, how many thousand views did we get over the podcast network, Dakota?
Oh, let's see. I think over the podcasts, we're getting close to 60,000.
60,000.
Wow, that is awesome.
We got a couple, about another 5,000 through the videos all together.
Mm-hmm.
And with the acquisition of this TV network, that boosted up to another 90,000. So we're sitting. Blowing up, and it was overwhelming.
So just think about it in this sense, Mike. You will be in the ether of the podcast world forever and ever. Thousands and
that might not
thousands of
necessarily
years'
be a
time.
good thing.
You'll be there. Just thinking, if we're ever in a society where like it's like Star Trek and they look up data, they'll find you.
Oh, and yes, you are watching us live this time.
What's this? Yes, we are really here this time. It is live, my little friend, and to prove to you that it's live, we will bring you up.
See, I know it gets confusing with how these programs work, but it just makes it a lot easier to send it out doing it this way.
Yeah.
Oh, so and since I am on here live tonight, just to warn everybody, I've already dropped the F-bomb like 30 times before we went on, so be prepared.
Well, you know something? I've never heard Mike fucking swear once, you know?
You do watch my show, right?
You know something? I mean, I never swear in these lives, for fuck's sake.
I know. Fuckity, fuck. I don't understand why people
It's adult rated anyway, it's fine. It's I've got hay fever, I'm all choked up with hay fever. I hope everybody can hear me fine because I've got a new mic, so I was cutting the grass
Jesus,
today.
tap dancing Christ.
Yes. Before the live guys, before we were live guys, we were talking about Mike, and he's got to come back to us in his strange form, floating across the air with his flip flops on, and that's it.
Oh Lordy!
You know. So tonight, Dakota, do you want to start us off? What is the subject tonight?
Yes. Last night on The Lost Magic, it did end up getting a bit of dark due to current events. there is a GoFundMe to try to help the families affected by the school shooting down in Texas. That is in the description. Do check that out and donate if you can. It honestly makes the topic for this weekend's shows seem kind of off topic, where we were discussing mental health and the paranormal, how much both sides really integrate with one another.
Yes.
And Chris naturally thought to bring up this psycho.
Hey, this guy is very knowledgeable. Mike the Naked Bigfoot is one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met in my life. I mean, he does his own live, guys. So if you're not subscribed to Mike's channel,
I've got the camera off at the minute, guys, because I'm eating. But I will be with you soon.
Sure.
No problem, Sherry. I will post Mike's link shortly, guys. And he done an amazing video a couple of weeks ago on sex and the paranormal. And I was honestly one of the best videos I think Mike has ever done. And I think that will go down in infamy as one of the funniest things he's ever done. So please subscribe. Yeah. There you go. Oh, did you post a link in there, Dakota?
Yeah, I did. This is Mike's channel.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for doing that.
But here it is, ladies and gentlemen.
I appreciate the plug, guys. Y'all are awesome.
You're doing a live. You're doing a live in was it a couple of days time for now? And it's what Shadow People. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, not Shadow People, but the Shadow Man. There's a difference.
Yeah. Is there?
Yeah, because the Shadow Man is actually, and believe it or not, in a lot of Southern folklore and a lot of Southern variations of Christianity and other religious faiths, including the Voodoo, there is a boogeyman that everybody talks about, which is called the Shadow Man. So I'll be discussing my the history of the Shadow Man and when I went looking for the Shadow Man, I actually went looking for the boogeyman, and and you'll have to find out if I found him.
Yeah.
And then what happened to that?
And also, Mike plays this game, guys, and it's one of the best games ever. If he says it's a story for another time, everyone has to take of their drink of their zesty beverage. In my case, it's always a can of Cherry Aid. You know,
I'll tell you, some people I swear some people get drunk off their ass watching my shows.
Oh yeah.
There was one night I drank 1.5 liters of water because you just kept talking, saying it's a story for another time.
It depends on the subject, because sometimes some subjects branch off into so many directions, and I have to catch myself. And that's my phrase I use to catch myself and get back on topic. That's a story for another time.
Yeah, but but honestly, guys, if you're checking his channel out, the first video to go at is sex and the paranormal. It's very, very informative. And
do not watch it with kids in the room. I have lots of disclaimers, okay? When you watch my show, and that's one you definitely have to pay attention to, is sex and the paranormal. Nobody else talked about it.
You need a follow-up in that, actually. You should really do a follow-up, you know?
I need to do a part 2 on that. There's a lot more.
That's
oh, God.
Right, so Dakota, you were saying about the spiritual side of things. You were talking about poltergeists. That was actually interesting. About how it's usually like a teenager, right? So, do you think that's got anything to do with the mental health?
Years of experience being the grandpa in the room, but
yeah,
a lot of people really realize how much mental health does affect the paranormal, and how much dealing with the paranormal can obviously make you a bit insane. Look at the 4 of us on panel. And one of the probably more famous examples would be the poltergeists, where often the source of the activity would be centered around an emotional teenage girl.
Mm-hmm.
Being one of the more famous cases, but nevertheless, oftentimes it doesn't even have to be that. I've seen it happen with women up in their 40s who going through a rough patch in their marriages, and it's their dead loved ones coming to say, "Knock that crap off."
Do you not find it funny, and do you not find it strange that it happens to women more? Poltergeist activity. What was the case, the entity case? You know, the one I'm talking about, where the woman was attacked multiple times. You know about that, Mike? The entity case.
Are you talking, the one from where the movie and the book called The Entity was based on?
Yes.
Or she was being sexually assaulted by an entity then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when people, and I'm about to get really sexist, so everybody, this is me not being sexist, but if you take it as me being sexist, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm not being sexist. But men are more in control of their emotions, and we suppress our emotions more than women do. Women are freewheeling with their emotions. And when they do, if there's any kind of mental illness that comes into play in their life, they don't suppress it as well as a man would.
Yeah.
And it's out there. It becomes a storm that rages all around them. So, and that storm can act as a beacon for some bad things to be attracted to them.
Yeah. No.
Remember the word hysterical? That's a word that was used in Victorian times. It was actually a clinical diagnosis back in Victorian times for women. When it was for being hysterical. So, but that was based on their emotional state.
I think you almost had a hex on you there, Mike.
What's that?
And when you go to Dakota,
I think you almost had a hex on you there, Mike.
That's fine.
Good luck on that. This is why I invited Mike, because he's just so damn knowledgeable about the paranormal field. There you go.
So what you're saying, practically, Mike, is that women are emotional wrecks.
They're not a mess, but they don't constrain themselves as much as men do. And then back, remember during Victorian times, where it was,
Mike, I'm pulling your leg. I just thought because of like when you said it, like, didn't you see my face when you were saying it? Like when I was going, oh, really? It's a joke.
Oh God, we're about to have a battle of the sexes on there.
But of course, I'm saying it with my cold, sterile way of seeing things instead of making a judgment call. It's just the way things. Some things are the way things are, and that's one of those things. That's the way things are.
Yeah.
And I remember during the rise of spiritualism and during Victorian times, where people would do these great seances and such, that they would have all kinds of now weird and strange occurrences happen during seances and in old houses. But during Victorian times, women were meant to be more demure and suppress themselves. And when women try to suppress their emotions, it comes out in other ways. And sometimes it comes out in a paranormal and supernatural way.
Very true.
I mean, you think about You think about Let's talk about possession, right? A lot of cases are women that get possessed. Do you not find that strange that the more possessions take place, it is nearly a woman? Men, you don't hear that much about. I mean, you hear about the real events, and it's more women that seem to be possessed. And you must think about what a possession's doing to someone, whatever the entity is, because
you have to think of the Catholic Church with that too when it comes to women being possessed more, because they consider it when a demon I'm just going to, everybody who knows me will have to forgive me for using these words. A demon or a devil that is possessing, or a spirit that's possessing a woman, it's an affront to God, because it's like they think the demonic possession is them defiling the Virgin Mary. That's what it symbolizes in the Catholic Church when a woman's possessed. And that's the reason why more cases are talked about with women, because they're much more dramatic and they act as the Catholic Church also used these examples when it happened to women to keep women in their place to frighten them and keep them in their place by telling them you're more susceptible to being possessed than anybody else. So you got to know your place, and you have to be pious, and know your role in the church and know your role in your family. That's how the Catholic Church saw it. So for two reasons, for both, the demons were doing this to act as an affront to God, and the second reason was for control. So
there you go. See, this is why I bring Mike to all the events now, because he's just amazing.
Sorry, like I said, I'm not saying this with any judgment to my tone. I want everybody to understand that when I answer questions like that, I don't say it with judgment. I say it because, as a matter of fact, it's the way it is, the way it was, the way it always will be. So,
yeah. So, Sherry, what's your opinion? I don't want to end up in a jar.
That women can be a bit of a nightmare sometimes. We are quite an emotional species and stuff, but I think we can control ourselves pretty well. The things we have to go through in our life, I think we're pretty hardcore, to be quite honest. So yeah.
But it came what I find really interesting about this and the paranormal is that how spirits, I'll call them spirits, they're no demons, I'll just call them spirits, right, can make you depressed and make you want to basically commit suicide. They can affect you. They can
have
latch onto you.
Effects on you.
Yeah. And I'll hand Dakota, Mike, whatever he wants to take it for here.
Well, it's like that devil sitting on your shoulder, that spirit sitting on your shoulder, whispering in your ear, telling you how worthless you are, telling you how horrible you are as a human being, that everybody just wishes you were dead, and that maybe it would be a good thing if you just would kill yourself.
Yes.
It would be the best way out. In the field of psychology, that would be, they called such happenances as a form of schizophrenia or manic depression. But I personally think that a lot of people who were misdiagnosed as being diagnosed as being schizophrenic or manic depressive or some form of depression, that they were misdiagnosed. I'm not saying they all were. Some people do have chemical imbalances. And some people are more prone to it than others based on their genetics. But there's a large number of people that are affected by the supernatural things around them. They stand out like a black beacon to them, and they feed off of all of this depressive energy that people give off. And some of them, get their rocks off of making someone kill themselves. Like the Lamia, Lamia, a famous Baltic spirit. It's also in the myth. The Lamia is also in the lore of a lot of Middle Eastern cultures too, and that's pre-Islamic Middle Eastern cultures. When I say that, that it sat in the wastelands of the desert waiting for people to come by, and if it couldn't seduce you, then it would kill you. It would make you kill yourself by following you and whispering in your ear until you killed yourself. And that's how it fed.
That's fascinating. That is fascinating. I mean, to think, you think about it, I live quite close to kind of an old mental asylum, and it still is a mental, to this day, it still is. But I was looking at old records that a lot of the people that went to it, I can see my dead relatives, I can see this, and that's why they were sent there, because they said they kind of things, and they had electrotherapy done to them, and that damaged them for the rest of their life.
They were tortured.
Yeah,
they were literally put down to having something mentally unstable with them, and the people at that time didn't believe in what they were seeing. They didn't believe that these things are real, so they were treated wrong and tested on wrong, and that's why all these horrible things happen to them. And even it, like mental health now, like we have mental health in obviously living, but for people that go through that experience and pass away, they still, in my opinion, they still carry anxiety and carry a sort of mental health disorder, if you notice that some, like I've noticed with some of the spirits I've come into contact that have gone through this, they're very cabbage-ized, like they're not with it and stuff, and you can see they've clearly got emotion problems because of what's happened to them. They'll get angry, they'll get upset, things like that. Like these are all characteristics that people would put into being mental health. And you know, I do believe that traits of mental health are not just in the living, but also when you pass as well. Like, that if depending on what you've gone through, you carry that energy on. You don't, you know. So.
Can I say one thing really quick? And it might branch into a million other conversations after I say this.
Fire away, man.
I know. But I think it's something that's happening a lot in our culture right now, that they're equating evil with mental health. That evil is a mental health disorder. I want to let everybody know mental insanity does exist. But evil cannot be put in the same category as somebody who's insane or suffering from a mental illness. Evil is evil. It is not a mental illness. Evil is a person or a thing that is utterly and completely soulless. Is spiritually, their spirit itself it has sociopathic tendencies. And that's like Sherry just said, evil carries on into the afterlife. Mental illness can carry on into the afterlife.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about the mental health.
It's something that doesn't make you feel, if you encounter something that's truly in the spiritual world that was once human, and that once human was pure, undeniable evil in their life, they're going to be little or nothing but pure, undeniably evil in their next life, to the point to where their spirit would not be recognized as ever being once human. Now, a spirit that suffered from mental illness, it still has the humanity about it. It still has a sense of goodness and humanity about it. But I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, mental health isn't an evil thing. Mental health is just something that people endure because of, you know, situations that they go through and stuff. If anything, the things that happen to people is what's evil, the things that they've had to face and endure, you know. And I think a lot of people are quite judgmental over mental health people. I have borderline personality disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder, and I'm very, very sane. And I know that everything that I have and I've done since I was 5 is very real. But yet you've got professionals that would sit there and say to you, you're going crazy, it's your mental health, or when you feel these things, it's your mental health kicking in. But how do you explain that at a 5-year-old then that used to see it the same way? You know, she didn't have that problem then. It's
actually interesting you say that, right? Because then you get let's say a kid, 6-7 years old, right, that's got an imaginary friend, right?
Yeah.
That says, oh, this imaginary little girl comes, or this imaginary little boy comes and plays with him, right? The parents then go, oh no, there's something wrong with my kid. Take him to a doctor and they give him God knows what. They give him all these weird drugs, right? But what happens if he's really actually seeing a spirit of another child? It might not be his child, it might be something else.
A lot of these imaginary friends and stuff are a spirit. Yeah. That they're beings that once existed. These children are seeing them, you know. But like you said, like a lot of them, especially back in the olden days, like if a child turned around and said, "Oh, I'm seeing this, seeing that," they'd take them to a hospital or something. Say there's something wrong with my child. You know, she's saying she's seeing this, and it is medication even up till today. Like I remember when I first was diagnosed, I was on so many different medication, I couldn't even function properly. I was not who I am. You know, I find that medication very much overclouds the true person, and I believe it takes away who they actually are. And it did to me for a long time. I wasn't myself, and it was only when I got really sick and that I said to them I didn't want to do that anymore, and I just done my therapies and stuff, and they see I was doing really well, and they signed me off. But they wanted to put me back on medication, and I was like, I don't want to go on medication because you made me worse instead of better. I done better with you sitting there talking to me and listening to me than you pumping stuff down my throat, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, and I've been in a mental hospital. I'm not ashamed to say it either. Like, I went through a very major mental health breakdown due to my kids and what happened to them, and and going through violence as well. So I ended up in a mental hospital, and it was then being in there and seeing these other people that were very poorly that it made me realize that I could get myself to grips and I could sort myself, and I didn't need to be there. I wasn't like them. Yeah, I'm not well. I wasn't well, but I wasn't unwell in that way that I should be in there and be locked away. I was just hurting. I was, you know, but because I had a mental health issue, they presumed that I was cracking. And because I was seeing certain things and feeling certain things because of my emotion, I didn't want to be here. I attempted suicide. I tried to drown myself, but some voice, which sounded like my son, come to me saying, "Don't do that, Mum." So, and I come back up out the water. You know what I mean? But I've attempted several times. I have. And, you know, like when people go, "Well, aren't you ashamed of having..." I'm not ashamed of having mental health issues, and I'm not ashamed of who I am. People have endure different things, you know, like, why would you ask such a question like that when you don't actually know my past and what's happened to me? You know, like, for me to even still be sitting here and talking to you is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Sherry.
I'm not ashamed to share it. That's the thing. I'm not.
Yeah.
And, you know, if people want to judge me and say, "Well, she's not right," that's down to you. I
suffer for depression too. I suffer from it too, and I've came close a few times. To ending it, but I don't know. There's like a voice there that's basically saying, "Don't do it. You'll regret it. Don't do it." And I don't know. Maybe it was something. Maybe it was
with the tablets. It's a bit different. I did actually do it, and luckily, a friend come in and found me in time and put me on my side, and I threw it all up because I wouldn't have been here, literally. So yeah.
Dakota?
I was going to say, anybody who's followed the show for a while now, or followed me since before we all started coming together, knows that my story, there were situations of borderline abuse, and I'll be completely honest. There's certain things I've revealed about myself on these shows that my mother had absolutely no clue about until she happened to listen one day. Mm-hmm. And it was situations where even psychologists step back and have to say, "Okay, clearly something's looking out for you." And that was the situations with my daughter, and apparently that's involving aliens, but that's a story for another time, as our dear friend Mike would always say.
Mike, what's your thoughts on this?
I'm going to start charging $5 for everybody who says that.
You're a billionaire at the end of the week.
I'll be very rich. Well, a lot of people who have known me from my show and from where I've gone on other people's shows as well. I did suffer from probably what would be diagnosed as a really strong clinical depression when I was much, much younger in my latter teenage years. And I did. I went through several bouts of wanting to, I took my grandfather's gun. I took my father's gun. And I did try to kill myself in various places, usually by myself, isolated someplace. One time it was a football field. One time it was a cemetery. But it was always a place that I felt was perfect for me doing it at. It was a compulsion to want to do it. I'm not saying that something was sitting on my shoulder telling me, "Oh, go out there and pull the trigger. It's time for you to pull the trigger." But it was just an overwhelming feel of abyssal sadness. It was like being in a closet in a room in a house with no windows. Yeah. That's how I saw my world. And when I would look around me every day, when I would wake up and go outside, I didn't see a bright and beautiful world around me. I didn't see the colors of life. I didn't see the vibrancy of life running through everything around me. What I saw was the world dying around me. I'd see the trees wither and the leaves fall off the trees. I'd see the grass turn brown and turn to dust. Whether that was real or not, I couldn't say. But it made me feel like that this death I saw around me was something that I needed to be a part of. And it made me sad.
Yeah.
But I did. It sounds odd to say it out loud, but it is the truth that I had spiritual guidance and spiritual help that intervened on every occasion and kept me from pulling the trigger every time. And the same message they would say to me every time was, today is not that day. And they would have their hand on my hand, and I would pull my hand away from my head. And usually when I would turn around, very first time I tried it, I pulled the gun from my head because I couldn't believe at first this was happening, that something was there with me telling me this, that it wasn't time. But when I turned around, I saw a woman who turned out to be a great friend and mentor to me in my life. That was with me, who appeared in my life both times when I was at that point of death and despair, literally.
Yeah.
And somehow she always appeared on the scene after I was told no, spiritually. And she would always appear on the scene to sit down with me and talk to me. And she was always able to pull me out of it. And she helped me to see. It took a very long time for me to see it, but she showed me, she said the feelings I had were real, that I shouldn't suppress them, but I should temper them with life. The death that I was feeling inside of me, I could temper with life. And she taught me how to see life around me, and taught me how to see color again, and the beauty in everything. And the beauty in the most tragic of things that happen, she taught me how to see that. She said, it's okay. She taught me, I went to her studio. She was an artist. I spent a lot of time in her studio. Mm-hmm. And she told me, when she would give me a piece of clay and tell me, just make something. I became quite adept at making spirit masks that represent the spirits that I would see in my dreams at night. And some of them were quite hideous. And she told me, she said, it's okay to make things ugly. She said, but they can also be beautiful. She said, you see that face that's snarling out of the clay mask that you just made? I said, yeah. She said, make a small daisy and put on it. Add some beauty to the ugly. And she said, because it belongs there. Beauty belongs with ugly at all times, and life belongs with death at all times. She was quite sage with her wisdom. But she helped. She was the human that helped save my life. So,
yeah.
And I so hate hearing that people don't have anybody. I was lucky that I had all the help that I had in my life, both in the spirit world and in the physical world. And it just damages me to my core about how people do and feel like they're alone. And then when you look at their life after they've killed themselves, and you look at their life and the people that were in their life, they may have had a mother, but it was a mother in name only. They may have had a father, but it was a father in name only. They never had any kind of structure, loving and living structure to their lives. No. And that leads people to despair. And they don't have that spiritual structure and that physical structure in their life. And despair eventually, unfortunately, to other bad things. Sorry, I got a little preachy there for a moment.
No, honestly, I found that quite moving, actually. I don't know about you, Dakota, Sherry. I found that really moving, actually.
I can relate when it comes to the spirits being there. Most definitely. It's always been the spirits that I've been able to count on. I've never been able to count on the living. The kind of thing that Mike's explaining is how my life has been. Like, yes, I love my mum and stuff like that, but it's been a really difficult life. And through growing up and just not being who I wanted to be, and I wanted to be a kid, but I wasn't a kid. I had to take too much responsibility, and then I went through situations where I lost some of my very good friends and stuff like that. That put me in a really, really dark place. And I can understand when Mike was going on about being in a place that feels like it's dark and that everything just feels like it's death around you, because it was exactly the same for me. I just didn't feel that there was any way out. I felt consumed by this darkness. I didn't feel that anybody could see me or hear me, and I constantly always just felt like that nobody cared. And the only one that ever showed any sign of caring was the spirit. It was the spirits, but like my loved ones that weren't here anymore, the ones that I could confide in, and the ones that had my back. Same as my friend. My friend was my main one when I was going through that. And committing suicide, like I said, I heard my boy. I'm not on about my living boy. I heard my boy that I lost through miscarriage. I heard my son Leo calling me from the other side, going, "Mum, get up." That's all I heard. Like, "Mum, get up." And I come up out of the water. Obviously, with the tablets, even though they were trying to go with me at that time, I was so far gone that nothing mattered to me anymore. Like, my kids and everything had been took off me. I didn't feel I had anything there, even though they were trying to beg with me. But they made me speak out to somebody, because I wrote over an internet chat saying, "I don't feel good. This is it. This is the end." My friend knows that when I say something like that, don't ignore it. Okay, so come to my aid. I mean, and if she didn't, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys now.
See, with me, I was out, like Mike says, you used to look at stuff and everything would be like in black and white.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say, Mike? Everything was like in black and white. And one day, I don't know what it was. It was one night I had a weird dream, and it was so real. It was my grandmother came at me, right? I was quite close to her. And in the dream, she showed me this, and she says, "This is all what you will see one day, but you have to stop this depression and that." And I went a walk, and I went into this valley, and the bluebells were out in the waters, and there was butterflies everywhere. And now when I look back at life, it's like I see the beauty in it and life, right? So there's a bit where I go, and it's got the bluebells, and it's got the white butterflies, and it's the stream, and you think to yourself, this is heaven. You know, this is heaven. I was given something. The same, like Mike was given something, and you were given something.
Yeah, I was shown pretty things, but I think my breakthrough was through when I had my psychology and stuff like that. I went through several different therapies to try and help me, and we would learn different structures and different ways to cope with like negativity and that. Like, we would talk about the stories and the things that I'd gone through. Then we'd try and switch that around and how we could put that into a positive. So like, I'd gone through sexual abuse. Yeah, you can't change sexual abuse, okay? But you can try to bring a positive out of that. Even though you've been through all this nasty stuff, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So they would make me see, okay, you went through this abuse, but you're strong, and you're going to be able to help others to get through that. You can bring a positive and a light out of this. So it was just things like that they would do with me to try and turn my scenarios around. And that's when I started to see the world changing and becoming back to colour again. When I actually got the right person there, and obviously the support of my spirit people as well, just being there.
Yeah, I think that does help. Dakota, would you like to?
I was just going to say, I completely agree with what everybody's saying. For me, it actually took a trip to China, of all things. In high school, I had this teacher who would organize yearly trips to someplace random. I found out the main reason why he did it was because with the group he went through, if he got at least 6 people to come with him, his spot would be paid for. So he'd get free travel out of the ordeal.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
I've been on trips like that.
You're right. So, it was at a point in my life where I didn't really see anything going anywhere. I was constantly letting my anger get in the best of me, going off on people that honestly didn't deserve it. But I had this one opportunity. I was like, you know what? This is going to be my last ride. you know. And then when I got over there, first of all, I couldn't believe I was in China, of all places. This was well before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And stuff really started going south over that side part of the world. But then there was an incident where somehow we think it may have been that the water wasn't filtered right, because pollution is a big problem over there. They say just someone walking around on their daily commute for a 9 to 5 would breathe in the equivalent of smoking like 10 packs of cigarettes within an 8-hour period. Then we ended up getting onto a plane and started succumbing to food poisoning as we were on the flight. And our group, apparently, we ended up making company history with that tour company, but our group actually ended up in the hospital because we got so bad. I was one of the worst. Now, mind you, there's probably footage out there somewhere of this incident because somebody in that hospital was actually recording us while we were all had IVs in our line, in our veins. But it was at that point in time, I felt there was absolutely nobody in my corner. Then total random strangers were the ones helping me push through it at that moment. And I realized, now this hospital, it was whatever you do. If you go to China, take the opportunity. Just don't end up in the hospital. I'm saying it is awful over there. I saw people die right in front of me, and they would just leave them on the floor. It was terrible. But it was just these random strangers who I had never met before stepping up. And there was even points where I swore I saw that little girl that saved me from taking my own life. I saw my late grandfather in the corner just trying to say, hey, we're here. You're going to be fine. That was the moment for me that started saying, you know what? How many people can say they've been to China, they've got to do all these things? So I've made it kind of a tradition to at least go to some place I've never been to once a year ever since then. And it is because I traveled with these people, I ended up going through Scotland. I ended up getting on National Geographic and getting all these fun opportunities. That was the breaking moment for me. And if by some chance my old psychology teacher is watching this, because I do know he tries to catch my stuff every now and then, Mr. Parsons, thank you from the bottom of my heart. The things you did for me on those trips, they're still well in effect.
Yeah. I mean, there's an interesting question. It's not really a question in the chat. You've seen that, Dakota? Sometimes I think my struggles are less other people struggles, and I am recovering addict and alcoholic. I have spent 20 years in recovery off and on, so I have the tools to share. See, that's what he's basically saying, right? See, all you guys, the news are all talking about this, right? Mike, Sherry, Dakota. When people see this video, it might not be this year, it might be next year, or whenever, the great ether of time, they can look at Mike, and they can look at Sherry, and they can look at Dakota and take their advice. And that's something you should always reach out. If you feel depressed or anything, you should reach out. Do you all agree?
Never suffer alone. It's always better to talk out and to reach out, because when you hide yourself away, that's when things get worse. And I've done it. I've sat there and I've tried to reach out, and then nobody wants to know. So then I've just shut myself away. And when people did start to care, kind of, it was too late. And in my opinion, at that time, I was too far gone. And I didn't want to be here anymore. I needed you at that time, and you wasn't there. And that's how I looked at it. But luckily, through these things happening to me in life and meeting the right doctor, And instead of meeting hundreds of different doctors like I had that just used the medication as an excuse every time, this one actually listened to what I wanted and helped me in the way that I wanted to be helped. And to be honest, I'm not saying she's cured me, but she made me see my life in a different way. And we're having the spirits there. If it wasn't for my spirit people being with me all these years, I would definitely wouldn't be here now. Definitely not.
Yeah. Mike?
And I want to say that for everybody who's watching this and who will watch it in the future, there is nothing wrong with saying out loud that you don't feel right. One of the bad things that we still, and I don't understand that in our modern culture, and I can understand this 30 years ago when there was a stigma attached to anybody who suffered from mental illness. That was a cultural thing, but this is something that is talked about constantly on the 24-hour news cycle that we all have to experience on the various talk shows, on radio shows, and friend groups, social media. That there is no shame in it. It's okay to talk to these groups, but sometimes talking to these groups is not enough. Sometimes it is enough. Okay, being able to express yourself, maybe not verbally, by typing it out, or God, even doing a video or doing a TikTok, for God's sake, telling the world that I don't feel right. I am depressed. I feel sad. I just wanted somebody out there to hear me say that.
Yeah.
I don't see enough of that. I really wish we'd see more of that from everybody, but you have to understand, guys, you don't have to suffer alone. This world is connected digitally all over the world. You don't have to go into a doctor's office anymore and lay on a couch or lie in a bed in a hospital to discuss if you're having a mental health crisis, or if you don't think it's a crisis, it's a crisis. Trust me. If you believe that it's not a crisis, if it's affecting you enough to think about it, it's a crisis.
It's a crisis, yeah.
Text somebody. Go on Reddit, for cat's sake. There's so many ways that you can contact other people, and know that once you make contact, you realize you're not alone. And they can give you amazing advice if you feel like you need, a doctor's help, if you need medical help, if you need something beyond just talking about it. But you would be greatly surprised how much just discussing it helps. Yeah. That the shame about it evaporates.
Yeah.
The feeling of loneliness never goes away, but it lifts enough for you to see the world and to see that there are other people around you.
Yeah.
Like I said, they may not be around you physically, but they're there. You just have to reach out and tap those keys.
Yeah. I do that a lot. I get quite a few people that are going through bad situations, like with mental health, and that will message me, because I'm very good at listening and very good at giving them advice and stuff. And because I've gone through it myself, I can relate to them and understand them. And like Mike said, it does help to talk. And don't sit at home and suffer. Don't sit there and feel that you're on your own, because there are people that will reach out to you and help you in that. And never be ashamed to have a mental health illness, because if anything, I believe that having mental health illnesses makes you more of the person that you are. And like for me, I'm a caring and loving person, and I will give my world to everybody. And I do believe that partly my mental health's made me that way because of the things that I've endured. So don't ever be ashamed, and don't ever let anyone talk you down and say that you're weird or you're not normal, because you're unique. So just don't listen to them, and don't sit there, like Mike said as well, don't sit there on your own and suffer. Just speak out. Sometimes speaking out does help so much. Yeah, it does.
And listen, guys, once this is uploaded, the comment section obviously you can comment. If you're wanting to talk or you're wanting help, just leave a message below. And I'll answer you back, or Dakota will answer you back, or Sherry will answer you back, or even Michael will answer you back, because we'll see it, we'll check on it, and we'll talk to you. If you want to talk, we're there for you. Okay? We're here for you if you're depressed. And for
But they
all
all
the
say,
hundreds
don't
of
they?
years,
They all say that lives matter. Yeah, lives do
Yeah.
matter, but so does mental health matter. Okay,
Yes.
so like we are here sincerely saying to you and reaching out to you if you ever feel lonely or just feel brassic, or you feel that you're alone and you haven't got anyone, you've got people here that you can come and talk to. Definitely.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that, Dakota?
I was just going to say, Beth did post a comment saying that, yes, there is a stigma, and yes, when you're involved in the paranormal, it does make it sometimes worse. I'm just going to say, at least over here in the States, I've started to notice a bit of a shift in psychology circles where they're at least hearing out the paranormal possibility. Because I've mentioned this before, and it shocked me when I realized exactly what was happening, but I've had psychology centers, active mental health facilities, reach out to me for help involving potential spirit activity. It sounds like Mike has something to add in on that.
I'm with you, Dakota, 100%, and I have to add this onto it. There are people that are beginning to see the spiritual side to mental health therapies. But I want you to understand, for those who may or may not know, you have to, mental health and mental illness in a lot of South American and Central American and Latin American countries and Caribbean countries, they don't see most people, if somebody comes to them, they don't immediately think mental illness. They think it's a crisis of the spirit when they see it, whether they're being assaulted or affected by a spirit, whether it be demonic or otherwise. And they treat not only the person, but they also treat their spirit as well to help them overcome this. And sometimes, it comes to the point of them performing an exorcism. But an exorcism, especially in Latin American countries, is 95% mental and 5% physical. They're helping to pull their mind and helping. It's a type of exorcism in Latin American countries is a form of mental therapy. It's a form of therapy for them, and I'm beginning to see bits and pieces of that work its way into our advanced civilized culture here in the United States, which I think is pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
See, over in England, it's a bit different. Like, they're not like doctors and stuff are not so forthcoming about when you say about things like spirits and stuff like that. They're a bit weird over here. And I've spoken openly about my spirit communication and things like that, and I've been told that it's down to my mental health and things like that. They're not as forthcoming here, and they'll be very quick to say, "Well, I think you're a bit unwell and you need to seek some therapy," sort of thing. That is what they're like over here.
Well, Sherry, think about this. Even in a lot of the European countries and Asian, still in some Asian countries and South American countries, in ancient times, if you heard voices, you were a prophet. In modern times, when you hear voices, you're schizophrenic.
Yes.
What happened? What happened?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I would like to know. Where did the opinions and things change? Because how can you?
That would be an interesting
make
study.
a equivalent of something spiritual to being something of a mental health issue. Like, this is what really annoys me. When, like I was explaining it yesterday about the sleep paralysis, automatically they say that's down to anxiety and all this stuff. They don't presume that there are actually people physically having these experiences with these energies and they're awake. Like, how can you put all of them? I'm not saying that all of them are spiritual connected. Some could be due to a mental health, but most of these experiences are where somebody's physically feeling an energy that is not there, but is there. You know what I mean? And like I said to you yesterday, these sort of doctors are trained to look inside the box and not outside it. So they're not looking to They're not looking to prove that there's paranormal in that. They've been trained to find a psychological meaning in medical to what is wrong with you. They don't look at it in any other criteria. They've been trained to look at it as what you're sensing and you're having is a medical condition. They're trained to look inside the box. They don't see the real world. They don't see the things that are really happening. So it's very easy for them to judge us because that's how they've been trained to do. They're not open-minded. That's how I look at it. They're not open-minded, these doctors. They're trained to be one way and one way only. But every now and again, you do meet that odd one that is a little bit different, like my one. When I spoke to her, she didn't sit there and look at me and frown at me like my other doctors did. She was like, I kind of do believe in it a little bit. She goes, but don't say to them that I've told you that. And, you know, she was completely different. You know what I mean? Yeah. And she's the one that got me through my crap. She is, because she actually listened to what I was saying and didn't look at me like I was some sort of fruitcake. She could see I was a genuine person and that I just needed some guidance.
I mean, I've met medical professionals that say, what do you do for a hobby? And then I tell them I do like ghost stuff and that. And they look at me as if I'm like a strange creature from beyond the... But then I've met nurses. I met a nurse once, and I says, what's your hobby and stuff? And I says, oh, I did the paranormal and stuff. And she says, no, I've got a good story about that. She says, I used to work in a cancer ward and strange things used to happen in a hospice and stuff like that. And there is people out there that believe, but there is people out there that
I'm not saying that every doctor's like that. I'm saying like doctors that work with your mind and do that sort of work are the ones that are normally quite contradictory towards you. Normal doctors, normal nurses, they are. I come out of my operation. I've had an operation. When I come out of an operation for an hour while I was in recovery, I was chatting the asses off of the doctors and the people looking after me. We were talking about UFOs. We were talking about spirit. And do you know what? Every single one of them actually believed in it. They were all sitting there talking. And even some of them took my YouTube channel and wanted to come and watch my YouTube channel. It's not every doctor. It's doctors that work with the mind that I find that are quite... Look at you weirdly, you know what I mean? Like,
I know.
Mental health people.
Yeah, you got to remember, they people are trained. In
that's what I'm saying. They're inside.
They think it's all inside your head.
Reason to why this mind's doing this. It's not any other way. There is no other way. It's just that, you know, something's wrong with them.
Yeah.
Mine thought that she had her table get shoved across the room. So.
Well, you have doctors in third world countries or in places in Africa, parts of Asia, and again, South America. They're very well educated. They have PhDs, the whole 9 yards, and in Haiti and Dominican Republic. But they combine in their doctor's office the clinical, psychological, and medical side with the spiritual side as well. They treat both when you come to their office. And if they're not qualified to treat both, they'll send you in Africa. They'll send you to a Kadamble or an Obede, which is a type of spiritual priest. And in Haiti, they'll send you to a Mambo, or they'll send you to a Hogan to treat you spiritually, as they treat you medically in their office. But we don't see enough of that. We see that as quackery. But you have to remember, these people went to the same schools as these doctors that are calling them quacks or calling them crazy. They went to the same schools. They got the same degree. They were educated the same way. But they see the world differently. And they know that DSMR cannot diagnose every illness as mental.
It's your spirit playing with your camera.
Illness is mental. There are illnesses of the spirit as well that have to be treated on a spiritual level.
10-4, good buddy. Your mic is sounding all kind of funky.
Your mic's weird.
You sound like a Cylon.
Sound like old radio scanners.
I think when you started talking about voodoo and that kind of stuff, he started coming across as a Cylon. That's so strange.
I'm putting off some crazy ass Sorry.
But I do agree with Mike.
Yeah.
that in other countries like Africa, and that they are like that. They do both sides, and I think they need that in places like America and England and stuff. You need people that see things from both sides. I think it would be so much more better for everyone, because for some people it's not mental health, it's just that there's a spiritual block or something maybe that they need help with to be, you know, find comfort in, and to be sorted, and that, you know, they'll be happy again. Like some of us, mental health, like even though we suffer with mental health, having people that understand us and spiritual people would benefit us, because then we could learn such things as meditations and relaxing things and things that help to stimulate your mind. But we don't have that. We have to find that through being online and looking on videos, when it should be in a health profession. I do believe that. I do.
Mike?
I still sound like shit.
Yeah, that's some weird, like,
This is the rubber duck 10-4.
you sound like you're talking like not even in a box. I can't even explain how it sounds like you're talking, but it's really
An old radio scanner.
like tinny.
Yeah, he sounds like a Cylon. He sounds like a Cylon. I'm telling you, it's this wee spirit person that's running about. Yeah, am I right there, Mike?
That's what I said to him. Have you got an energy around you or something? Like your mic's gone funny.
There's been shadow dancing around him throughout the whole show.
Yeah, I've noticed that. See, I think it's the little girl. Am I right? It's the little
I
girl.
said something at the beginning, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't say anything. So, but I've not seen it. I haven't seen it anymore. But your voice went weird.
Yeah. What does, out of curiosity, Mike? What does your friend think of all of this? Does she get any messages for anybody out there in the world?
This is the. I'll have to quote South Park.
Right.
It's from one of my favorite episodes, actually. But this is how she. This is the emotions that I'm receiving from her as we speak. And it was an episode with Wendy Testaberger. And at the end, you realize that at the end of the episode, you realize Wendy Testaberger has done a lot of evil shit to a lot of people to get her way. And she ends the episode by saying, I told her, don't fuck with Wendy Testaberger. And that's kind of the emotional value that I'm getting from her. Don't fuck with Wendy Testaberger.
Oh, dear God. Well, thank you for the comment anyway. But if your little girl is, thank you for the comment. Don't want to piss her off, you know. You sound okay now.
It's our job to piss off women.
I know, but if you're going to haunt MD, that's your little girl, please haunt Dakota.
All those hysterical women out there.
11 of them are my sisters.
You better watch yourself, Mike. Mike will be lying in his bed tonight. The shadows will come. But honestly,
my bedroom life is pretty paranormal, trust me.
Oh God.
Oh God.
I don't think that there is actually going to be a lot that would scare Mike anymore, to be honest. I think he'd probably be quite intrigued if a pair of hands went up his legs or something. It'd be like, whoa, what's going on here?
Hey, at least I'm being touched.
It's not so bad if they weren't so cold.
It's okay.
Yeah, but some people like that.
The heat
I
wave
worked at a
maybe
funeral
is
home.
bad.
It's okay.
He's used to it then.
Oh my God.
Retrophilia to necrophilia. My God.
No.
For anyone that watches this in the future, in 100 years from now, remember this: we're all mad.
You have to be in the strange and the unknown. You're definitely not sane.
Right. But on a serious note, if you want to leave below any comments, if you want to talk to us, Dakota, Mike, Sherry, me, we'll get back to you. And if this is 100 years from now, well, anybody that comments, will feel free to answer anyone back in the chat.
Yeah.
You know, use it as a kind of section. Don't be alone, and always ask for help.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Very important.
So, Mike, when's the next show? When's your next show?
My show is coming up on Wednesday. God, I can't remember which one it is.
It's the Shadow
Man is later.
Shadow Man.
Shadow Man's later.
Is it? Let me check.
Shadow Man is next Thursday, and there's one before that. I don't remember which one it is.
Oh, is it the snake handling?
Oh shit! Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
snake handling church.
I think it was, yeah.
Ooh.
I'll tell you. Let me tell you what. Those who don't know, especially my international friends out there, about snake handling churches. That's the only time I've ever sat with a congregation and felt terrified.
Yeah.
That should say something.
Those people can, and it should for those who know me, because you'll need to watch the show. It's something else, and it's snake handling is a real thing. It's now, and I will say this, it is now illegal and outlawed in Tennessee and Kentucky, the states that it was, in Alabama, the states that it was being done in. But it's illegal to do it in a church. But a lot of the pastors who still practice that form of faith, they keep the snakes at their house, and they'll actually have their congregation come to their house, and they'll perform the ceremonies with the serpent. So, but if they get caught, they'll get arrested. So,
I don't actually know that much about snake handling churches, and what do they actually do? Like snakes bite or something like that? Or is it?
Well, it's a verse from the Bible of men that are endowed with the Spirit of God, and the Holy Spirit can lift up serpents, and the serpent shall not harm them. I have the exact verse, which I'll recite the night of the show. That's the gist of the verse.
I'm going to be there with my large bottle of mineral water.
And I'll tell you what, these snakes will, they're poisonous. They will kill you. They haven't had their fangs removed. They haven't been milked. These snakes are fully venomous, and I have seen them bite people.
Wow. So, guys, please go and subscribe to Mike the Naked Bigfoot's channel.
And don't try this at home.
And don't try it at home. Yeah. But remember, if you want something to watch this weekend, go and watch Sex and the Paranormal. You'll find it very entertaining.
Yeah, just do that. Leave the snakes alone. Okay, definitely.
And
that episode is never going to go away. Sex and the Paranormal.
Honestly, it'll change your paranormal experience forever. I know it changed mine.
You'll never watch Ghost Hunters the same again.
No.
and everybody who has a paranormal live stream or a paranormal YouTube channel, you'll have to watch this, because it's going to make you think twice about some of the people that follow you and watch your shows.
I know.
Oh yeah.
Spectrophilia.
You should actually do a show on that one night.
What, spectrophilia?
God, Chris.
I could do a whole show about spectrophilia, but I touched on spectrophilia very briefly on that episode. But I got giggling fits talking about Zach Bagans, who I know is going to send me a cease and desist order any day.
I'm Jesus, if you're watching Zach, I'll give you the link for the Mike the Naked Bigfoot.
I'll hold it up during the live stream, the cease and desist, to show everybody.
Yeah. Check
Mr.
out
Bagan, here's the link for Mike's podcast, for Mike's YouTube channel, so you can get a hold of him there.
Yes, and you can check out his Sex and the Paranormal, because I think you should actually do a video on that.
That episode. It was supposed to be a serious episode.
I nearly choked to death in a mint. You started talking to something. I went back.
It went sideways so fast.
Clearly.
But honestly, guys. So, Dakota, do you have any news for the TV network?
Yes. Well, we do have some news. First off, I do want to share out this little promotional link. This is a therapy service on your phone, so you don't have to go into a doctor's office or anything like that. You use that link, you'll get a free week of your service. It does offer insurance discounts as well. It's something I went to personally, so do check it out. We also Bald and Bonkers has also been hitting the newswaves with our very first press release. In order to help boost the documentary, there's one of the links right now. We've been distributed out to 150 different news sites with that one, and apparently I'm going to be interviewed for a magazine here soon as well, so that'll be fun. And tomorrow, Christopher and I are going to have pushed back the contact show for about 15 minutes because an hour before it's supposed to start, we're going to be joining our friends Brian and Lex on Through the Lens.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Yes, all sorts of fun stuff. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe. Just send love out there. It's only going to get crazier from here. Let's face it.
Oh, yeah. I definitely think Mike should get to be in the magazine too, you know?
No. I want you guys to have a good reputation.
Oh, man.
You do not want to be associated with my paranormal sex issues. So
I tell you what we'll do, Mike. We'll send the reporters up the driveway that you've got that you don't like Andy coming up. That's a wee joke that we've got, ladies and gentlemen. He's got two driveways at his house that he doesn't like.
Yeah, you go down the wrong driveway, it's really bad.
Yeah,
if you go down the wrong driveway,
there's got to be a really annoyed person at the very bottom.
Yeah, there's gonna be a very annoyed person waiting for you when you come down that road.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight, and I hope you join us tomorrow night. Remember, subscribe to Sherry, Paranormal World Investigators. Subscribe to Mike, the Naked Bigfoot. And I'm still waiting for him to do a video of his garden, a walk around his garden, because I think that would be an awesome video.
Jesus.
Yes, my son.
Jesus, tap dancing Christ.
And please check out Dakota's other channels where he does gaming, you know. And thank you for coming and have a great Saturday night. And may you all have
a great one, guys.
Catch you later. Bye-bye.
1